All right. Well, how's it going, Mr. Jack Coleman?
Man, life is good. It's brisk.
It is.
Today.
It is. It's fall, right?
It's something. It was brisk. It was like I went out today and Jack, he comes out and he's like, I need a sweatshirt. And I'm like, suck it up, dude. You'll be fine. That's just
grow up.
Stop being a baby.
So welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our very first 312 podcast. There's a camera up there, just in case.
I feel like I got you. I'm
hey,
just talking.
All right, thank you guys. Appreciate you guys being here today. Thank you so much for the in-house audience.
We're probably going to have to add in like a laugh track or like the clap tracks, that sort of thing.
Should it be like a canned laughter sound?
I think like Laugh-In back in the day.
Yes.
See, we can say that, and there's going to be a lot of people that don't
have no clue what we're talking about. All the
Happy Days,
Generation Z folks.
Yeah, those folks that are like
the boomers will know for sure.
For sure, absolutely. And most of us Gen Xers, will have.
That's right.
But that's not why we're here today.
That's right. It's not. We're here today to talk about real estate.
Real estate.
We are going to just kind of banter a bit. We're going to talk about this crazy market, the way that things have changed. As you might know, there's been a little bit of a softening.
Shift.
There's been a shift,
if you will.
We just had a fantastic training session, the event of the year, as I like to call it, at the Charlotte Coliseum.
Was it voted?
It was called "Get Your Shift Together."
I see what they did there.
It was very clever. Very clever. It
was marketing.
That's right. So, hey, listen, this is our first one. We are just going to roll. I'm so incredibly honored to be here with Jack Coleman. Jack is a force. He is hilarious. He's super smart. He is a go-getter. He is a 20-year corporate trainer, and he is a real estate go-getter, man. He's just really making it happen. And Jack is a family man. He is just multifaceted, just love this guy and love being able to work with him and having a partnership. So we always talk about real estate. We always kind of have these moments where we'll go, you know what, we should be sharing this with people. We should be recording this because I would want to hear this if I was
There's
out
gold in these here hills.
There's gold in them there hills.
Right.
And so we say, today, we're going to do it. So here we are.
Yeah, and you guys who know Marcus and have followed Marcus is like a real estate expert. A author, coach, 1 book, 2 books, 3 books, and he can count at least to 3.
I can.
It's amazing.
It's true. My daughter taught me how to do that.
Yeah. So again, having a mentor and a coach like Marcus is a great thing for those of us who have not been in the real estate industry as long. I've been in since 2020. He's been in since, I think,
1975. It's 15 years, about 15 years.
So if you haven't seen it, he has. We decided that we've been planning on doing this for now, I think it's been about 6 months.
Yeah, at least.
And then, the other day, one of us just texted the other, said, what are you doing at Friday?
I think it was you, actually.
I wasn't going to take credit for it.
You said, well, credit where credit's due, my friend. You said, Friday, what are you doing between 9 o'clock and
noon?
I said, you know what? I'm going to clear the schedule. I've got a few things happening, but I'm going to push it all back because this needs to happen.
Because it's important.
It is. It is important.
Okay, so much for the dead air.
The beauty is I don't have to wear my granny glasses,
right?
Because I'm so close to the screen.
But I have to wear mine
when I get that.
Right. So now you're taking yours back.
There it is. Yeah,
I feel bad, man.
There it is.
I'm gonna take mine back. So let's talk. Let's talk about what's going on.
Let's talk real estate shift. Yeah. So why don't you tell me a little bit about what you're experiencing?
First of all, buyers, you've got some opportunities. I've been able to write contracts over the last couple months, really over the last 6 weeks, where we've actually got concessions. Mm-hmm. We've actually gone in under ask price.
Wait,
concessions. So for those of you who are new to the real estate industry, they have no idea what a concession is.
Any clue what a concession is?
So at closing, talk with your lender to make sure that everything's copacetic. But at the end of the day, you get money back at closing for your seller or for your buyer and not for your seller.
Wow.
We don't have to waive contingencies
Let me
anymore.
just say that I'm floored.
At first, I thought it was because I was a master negotiator, but then I realized, no, it's happening everywhere.
You're just that handsome. It's that silver fox thing you got
exactly
going on.
What
there.
it is.
Yeah.
But anyway, one of the things that I've been noticing, because we talk about it all the time. I hate math, but I dig numbers. So in Excel,
Fair.
I think is the greatest thing ever. I love to look at numbers and compare, and to put ourselves in a situation where we're looking at the data as it relates to really what's going on in the shift. So here's what I'm seeing. So I just compared the last 3 Augusts. Augusts. What I noticed is that even though we did see a slight uptick in days on the market from this August to last August.
Right.
You know how much slight uptick is?
No.
In this situation, it was 3 days.
That's slight.
It's slight.
Hey, Jack, how much more money do houses on the market cost now?
You know, it's amazing that you would ask that question. You're so intuitive. It was like 70 grand.
What?
So here's what's happening, ladies and gentlemen. For all the people that are going out and they say, wait till the market crashes.
Yeah,
Shall we gather at the river?
Let's cover this.
It's not going to crash. Well, okay, so we can't say that, because if we say that, somebody could come back and say we said it, and it. You know.
I think we can go ahead and just put a stake in the ground and say the market's not going to crash.
There is a very
not tomorrow.
Right. What's going to happen over the next several months? The good news is everybody's that said the Fed, they just went 3/4 of a point up.
Right.
That's not really going to affect interest rates right now. Ask me why.
Why is it not going to affect interest rates, Mr. Coleman?
It's so good that you ask these questions because it was already baked in. So interest rates that you're seeing now, lenders and banks already knew that was coming. So they kind of rolled that in. That doesn't mean it's not going to go up a little bit in the coming
You're kind
months.
of like the thinking man's realtor.
I try to be. I try to,
but a little bit of humor, dash, little pepper, a little salt, dashing in some.
Nobody's
some spices.
ever accused me of being a thinking man, Marcus.
I don't know. You're sounding like one right now.
Well, so if I can't dazzle you with brilliance, I can baffle you with bull.
Okay. Here we go. We're getting off track here.
But yeah, focus. But in any event, as interest rates go up, what's happening to prices at the same time? Prices are going up.
Down?
Interest rates are going up. So what does that mean for a buyer? A buyer's going to be paying more money, Marcus. Wow. As prices continue to go up, interest rates continue to go up, the buyers are going to be paying more.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So if you're looking to sell a house, it's still a great time. You might have to negotiate a little bit.
You might.
But buyers, you can't pump the brakes now.
You can't.
Now is not the time. It could be down the road, but now it's just not the time.
One of my favorite phrases that I saw you post the other day was marry the house, date the rate, divorce the rent.
Divorce the rent. Those are 3 things, and you know
that.
This is the only time
good, Jack.
that it's the only time that you can use those phrases together.
Sure,
because you shouldn't date and marry. You should date your wife or your husband.
Still, especially if you're still married.
Yeah, that's important. It's important. It's critical. Here's the thing, right? So people that are waiting, it's not magic.
It's math.
It's math.
Now that I knew.
That you knew. So people that are waiting as the interest rates continue to go up, your payments are going to continue to go up. And what's that do? Your buying power. Interest goes up, buying power goes down. So that house that 2 months ago you were able to qualify, and you're like qualified for $400,000.
Right.
Every 1% of interest is 10% down in buying power. So it's the interest rates as they shift.
Right.
Your ability to buy a house at the price that you want is shifting. So today is the day. Act with urgency.
Let me ask you a couple questions.
Ask me.
What does inflation do?
So inflation, ultimately, so when you say inflation, you're talking about overall.
Let me simplify. Does it drive prices down or does it drive prices up?
It does not drive prices down.
It doesn't.
Inflation.
Right. What does lack of inventory do? Does it drive prices up or drive prices down?
Supply and demand.
Yeah.
So make sure we're on that.
What do lack of buyers do?
It's all
drive prices up or drive prices?
Everything.
So let me ask you this: where do you think people are getting the market is crap? I know that doomsayers sell, right? Like people want to hear that things are for some reason, I don't know why, but if something's going well, if a business is doing well, if you're doing well in your life, it's like ho hum, people yawn, right? I mean, not that they're not grateful. I mean, everybody's got their thing, right? But most people, the sensationalism, the doomsday, the people who the sky is falling, the chicken littles, the people flock to that stuff. It's like human nature, right? So they want to talk about how the market is crashing, but where do you think that they are building their foundation for this argument?
So I think it's a tough call. So to your point, all media is if it bleeds, it leads, right? So anytime that you can create excitement,
I'm gonna have to remember that.
Yeah.
That was good.
Anytime you create excitement, you go on social media and everything else. Everybody's got opinions. So I think what ends up happening is people are watching the news. They're seeing things coming out. People are saying, "Oh, this is just like 2008," because those of us in our age range that were in our 20s and 30s.
Right.
How old was I in 2008? Yeah, I was in my 30s.
Okay.
I told you, I like numbers, but I hate math. So, when you go through that, that's the last thing people remember from a recession, right?
Right.
So they're seeing all this thing about a recession, and they're like, well, obviously prices are going to come down on houses.
Right.
You ready for some more numbers?
I'm ready.
In the last 5 recessions since 1980, I was 5. Marcus was older. I was 5.
Just a bit.
So there's only been 2 of the recessions that saw a price deflation, which is the opposite of inflation, a price deflation on housing.
Okay.
2008.
I'm tracking with you. Yep.
2008.
Okay.
Where it dropped dramatically, right?
Yeah.
But, the lending mortgage side of the business is what really drove that down.
Right.
So it was one of the precipitating factors. The other one was like 1980. Do you know how much the housing dropped in 1980? Yes.
12%.
Guess again.
20%.
It's like 0.03 or 0.3. It's somewhere. It was flat.
Oh my gosh.
So it was negative. So they had to say it was negative, but the number was flat. So what does that tell us about the value of homes over time?
Yes.
They're going to continue to, as Matthew McConaughey would say, they're going to go all up in the ether up there, man. Yeah. They're going to keep moving up. See,
that's pretty good, bro. Wow.
I tried a little Texas whistling, but. Again, you talk about real estate, you talk about economic drivers and economic factors. I kind of got off the topic there, but where are they seeing this? It's everywhere. So people are looking at their past experiences, and that's what they're expecting. They see the news.
Right.
Every other article in the news is the housing market's going to crash. For every 10 experts that are saying we're not going to see a housing crash per se, you've got that one guy that writes for Rolling Stone magazine that goes out there and says the market's definitely going to crash. Here's why.
Right.
So everybody points to that one article and says, well, it's got to be true.
Right. That's the exciting one. That's the juicy morsel to share
if it bleeds,
with those in your... If it bleeds, it leads. I like that. Fantastic. Wow.
So unless you're talking about if you're selling the house, if you're doing a listing,
right?
This is a tip. This is a coaching tip for all of our real estate.
Guys, listen up. Take your pen and pad. Take it out.
Okay, I'm going to wait on this. Okay. Right. So if something's bled in the house, probably shouldn't lead on your listing. Just a little advice from me to you.
That might be a gold nugget right there.
I don't know if anybody...
What would you do with that information?
Well, so Marcus, it's not a material fact.
It's not.
So
I'm learning so much today.
It's not a material fact, so you don't necessarily have to disclose it. It's like, is a house haunted?
Right.
It's not a material fact. If somebody asks you directly and you have knowledge, if somebody asks you, if you don't answer them, that's a lie, and God doesn't like liars.
Neither does the Real Estate Commission.
The Real Estate Commission, more impactful to what we do right now. Not really. That wasn't the right thing to say.
You're close.
To affect your money. So, Marcus, when you are talking to the customers and clients, and they're coming in and they're saying, hey, what do you see the market doing in 5 years? Or over the next several months? Or how's the market? What do you say?
So, it's interesting. I obviously have done a lot of research on real estate, even in the past, 40, 50 years. I like to set you up so that we can have the excitement of the, surprise. But what I tell people is if you really look and do any studying on real estate, and everybody talks about this, long-term investments are really where you want to put your money. And you can decide if you're going to build generational wealth. You can decide to do that through the S&P 500. There's a lot of options, 401ks, right? All the stocks and bonds and mutual assets and Roth IRAs and all that. Real estate has consistently, even with 2008, and what's interesting about 2008 is if you take away that crash altogether, you take away the impact of 2008, you take away the nosedive of the values, and you look at the overall trending over the last 50 years, our pricing, it got a little higher than it should have been based on supply and demand. Right. But our pricing was exactly where it should have been had everything continued to go along the line that history took it from the previous 50 years. So I tell people, and I have several closings. I just last week. I have another one coming up for buyers, and I typically am a listing agent, but I've been working with a lot of buyers lately, and I love buyers. I love working with clients all over. A lot of them coming from, some of them coming from overseas. Right. A lot of them coming from the West Coast. They're leaving in droves and coming to our beautiful city: Fort Mill, Rock Hill, Indian Land, Lancaster in South Carolina, Charlotte, Pineville, Huntersville, Waxhaw, Weddington. So many beautiful areas, right? Within maybe a 40-mile radius, let's say, of Center City. So I tell people, you've got to make a decision at some point to invest in your future. And now there's never a better time to invest, because when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago.
That's right.
When's the next best time? Right now. So you have to make a decision to, not let the fear of the market guide your decisions, and in 20 years you go, man, I wish I would have invested in that house back in 2022 when I let some guy who wrote an article
for Rolling Stone magazine
because he wanted hits and because he wanted views, so he knows how to, you know, get people into a frenzy, work them into a frothy nature.
Stir up emotion.
Stir it up. He knows how to do it, and he knows that's what sells. It's caused you to make a decision that's hurt your generational wealth. It's hurt your financial status and stability in 20 years. So, you know, I go to it in depth, depending on the client, depending on what their needs are and what they're looking for. And even the last couple of deals, you know, I remember as a listing agent when I was getting 20, 30, 40, you know, 50 offers, and we went 10, 15% over market value. We were putting down $30,000, $40,000 in due diligence, which is the amount you lose if you decide to back out for any reason or no reason. The last several deals I've gotten, you know, I've gotten close to 7% under list price.
Listen, when Rivka and I bought our house back in November, Rivka's my wife. She's amazing. When she watches this, I want to make sure we put that in there. I got to put first. We had lost houses where we offered $40,000 over ask.
For sure.
We lost. And, you know, it's because as a realtor and as, you know, your client has to make the decision, but we wouldn't waive appraisal.
Right.
So we had somebody say, we appreciate the offer, but we're not going to waive appraisal. That's not happening there.
Right, it's not. No.
You know?
Nor should it, really.
It shouldn't have been.
I had so many clients where I would say, listen, you guys, I had probably maybe 25% buyers and 75% sellers during the big, you know, selling market, right? And I would always tell them, listen, I have a little bit of a unique position for you guys because I can tell you on the listing side what I'm seeing win the deals.
Right.
But I'm not telling you to do, like, I'm going to tell you what I'm seeing is winning. Am I telling you to do this? Am I in good conscience able to tell my client, who my fiduciary responsibility is to waive appraisal, waive inspection, offer $30,000 in due diligence, and go 10% over list price? Can I do that in good conscience? I couldn't, and I didn't. But here's what I did. I said, this is what I'm seeing. It's unwise. I said this so many times. It's unwise to waive inspection. Amen. But guess what? All the buyers, every single buyer that I worked with, I got under contract and we closed. And, you know, I did it under those pretenses. I said, look, and you know, many of them are in an incredibly good position even now, even as the market shifts, because they're long-term investors. I mean, they're owner-occupants, but they're looking at their house as an asset. And what they're going to do, and what I've tried to talk them into doing, is when the time comes to sell, not to sell, but to rent it. And to then purchase another asset.
Because then at that point you can cash your equity.
Correct.
Right? Now it's going to cost you usually on an investment property you have to put 20% down. So
correct.
But I had the same conversation with a buyer that's right now, and as Marcus says, we'll work with whomever wants to buy a home, because at the end of the day, everybody needs a home.
That's right.
So we were
especially renters.
We were yeah, exactly. We'll talk about that in a minute too. We were talking about the price point that they were at. They weren't happy with what they were getting, right? Because it's tough, right? You know, houses that were maybe $125,000 4 years ago are $225,000 now.
Yeah, I read this yesterday. It's a $600,000 house at a 6.2% interest rate. Now you have the same payment as a $370,000 house at a 2.6%.
It's crazy
interest rate. So yeah, it's nuts.
But we were talking, and I told that client, I said,
but marry the house.
Date
the rate, divorce the rent.
Divorce the rent. But I told this client, I said, look, this isn't your forever home.
Right.
I said, so my advice as the realtor was, if you buy this home and you want to stay here for 3 to 5 years, do that. Throw as much money at the principal as you can.
Right.
That way you can cash the equity out, because it was located in Clover.
Right.
What do we know about the little suburbs in South Carolina? They're growing off the charts.
Yeah, they
because people want to live on the south side of the border for a myriad of reasons. But
for sure.
The things that we don't really want to talk about on live in Memorex.
Not today.
Maybe eventually.
Yeah.
But in any event, it was like, how do you grow generational wealth?
Right.
How do you put yourself in a position where 20 years from now, 30 years from now, you can look at retirement.
Right. That's right.
And you can say, you know, now's the time.
Right.
So it's a beautiful thing that way.
You know, there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, right? And so we are incredibly excited and invested in real estate for obvious reasons. I mean, we're agents, but
They're not making any more dirt.
They're not. I mean, I'm reading this, or have read this absolutely incredible book. You guys, if you have never heard of this, I talked to one of my clients yesterday. He goes, my best man gave that to me at my wedding. I live by this book. I'm like, you got to read this. You know, so it's called The Psychology of Money by a guy named Morgan Housel. and it'll change everything, man. Wherever you guys are in your business, wherever you guys are in your lives, it's just an incredible piece of information. This book is just jam-packed with nuggets of wisdom and applicable, actionable items, right, for your lives. And really, it's like The Millionaire Next Door. It's kind of there's this idea of you don't want to leverage yourself. There's this one line about somebody who buys a $100,000 car and what that says about him. And most people think, oh, he's rich. This guy's rich. He's got a $100,000 car. Well, all it really says is that he's $100,000 poor.
It kills me because you talk to people and they're like, you're a realtor. What kind of car do you drive? And you get people, well, I drive and I'm not, if you're an agent and you have a luxury car, I'm not criticizing. With that being said.
Sure.
They're like, well, you have to drive a Mercedes, or you have to drive this, or you have to drive that. Don't get caught up in keeping up with people that don't pay your bill.
One of my best friends, my biggest buddies, partners, Rich Tomasini, he was a huge listing agent up in Mooresville and Huntersville and Cornelius Davidson, Lake Homes, $1 million homes. And he was one of the biggest listing agents out there and made, a lot of money and did really well. And he drove around an old beat up pickup truck.
There you go.
Because again, people don't really care, but it's amazing when you think about this mentality that people have, that they have to keep up with the Joneses, and what they're actually doing. You've heard this before. They're spending money on things they don't want to impress people they don't like. But it's
they don't pay their bills.
It's just this mentality, and most of the time you see people who look wealthy. So that thing about the $100,000 car. All you know about that person is they don't have $100,000 now, and a house. Some people call it. Some people say it's an asset. Some people say it's a liability. Right? It's certainly not a liability the way a car is. Right? No. Where it loses value. Intrinsically. But the idea of having something and building something and looking a certain way, most of the people you see who are flashy and really look wealthy, most of them are leveraged to the hilt. And honestly, most of them, not all the time, but most of them don't have the money. And for anybody who knows this, you'll know that I'm telling the truth. It's the guy that walks in driving the pickup truck with the beat up shoes that is a millionaire. Right. And it's because he has slowly saved. He is every day, consistently over time. The guy might have made, this guy might have made, I don't know, $50,000 a year, which is an average income. Right. And yet he's a millionaire because over the years, he never, he wore the same pair of shoes, and because he didn't care what people thought. What he cared about is generational wealth. And this, I'm almost done. What's so interesting to me is what you're doing when you are keeping up with the Joneses and you're trying to be flashy and you're trying to impress people, or you're trying to do whatever it is. Maybe it's, childhood trauma. Who knows what the reason is, right? But and so some of it's not that it's not legitimate, but if it takes over your life and if you are allowing that to happen, you are actually giving up your generational wealth. You're trading your generational wealth for your family in order to look a certain way today. Don't do it, people.
Don't go to the mall and just look at the lines in front of Louis Vuitton, in front of Gucci, in front of all these name brands. Y'all don't sue us. Gucci, Louis Vuitton. All right. It's okay.
You guys got that? No.
So we need to get waivers.
Yeah.
Okay.
At least 3. Okay. Triplets.
So I was talking with Rivka and I said, we're walking through this mall, and I'm not saying it's bad to own nice things, because if you can,
for sure. I mean,
gifts and
enjoy
stuff
life.
Like that, But if you are trading down paying a bill or going deeper into debt for a $1,500 pair of shoes, it's the biggest wealth suck. A shopping mall should just basically look like a toilet. Wouldn't that
be funny?
And the little fountain in the middle of the mall, when you throw your money in it, it should flush. There it is.
Done. I think we're done. Can we? That's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen.
So let's talk about one more thing before we roll out. So rent versus buying. So we talked about this before we got online.
Yes.
And we're going to talk probably more at length about this.
Yeah. We're going to delve into topics. Today was just kind of a free-for-all.
Mishmash.
Yeah.
Mashed potatoes, if you will.
Mashed potatoes.
So if you are renting, there's some people that they have to rent.
Right.
But please don't get confused by anybody saying what's better to do, rent or own. It 100% depends on your situation.
Yeah. It's case by case, right?
I
mean,
But if you're...
But 99% of the time.
Better to buy. And I'm going to tell you why. So that landlord that you're renting a house from, that landlord's mortgage, you're paying it. If you're not paying your mortgage, you're paying somebody else's.
You're paying someone's mortgage. Someone's building equity in the house you're in.
And
it's either you or it's your landlord.
And I promise that landlord's you're not paying his mortgage alone.
Right.
You're paying his mortgage. You're paying money for him to put in an escrow account to make repairs.
You're paying the HOA.
You're paying the HOA.
Because there's cash
taxes.
flow.
You're paying all that other stuff. And then he's got a profit. or it's not worth it. So that investor that's maybe paying $1,500 a month, that he's charging you $2,500 a month. We talk about generational wealth. Again, I understand that there's people out there that, you're in a situation where you have to rent. My wife and I were just in a situation not long ago when we moved back to the area where we were renting. It was what it was.
Sure.
But you have to have a plan if generational wealth is what you're talking about, and you understand money and you understand investing, nothing is going to accrue more value over the course of 30 years.
Historically speaking. Right. Over the long term.
The stock market's like over the last 30 years or 80 years or whatever is like an 8% growth. Yeah. Right? Yeah. But real estate it's like the little train that could.
Yeah, I mean, it's real estate's, I think on average, even now, it's like 12, 15%. Which is and 30 in some cases, right? Over time, but it's you're always try to do that with the S&P, right? Try to do that. It's unlikely, especially if you have a real diversified portfolio. 3, 4, 5% returns make people happy.
That's right,
right? Over time, because it's compounding. That's the issue. So let us help you guys. Anybody who's interested in investing, give us a call. We'll talk to you about it to see where you are. Give Jack a call. This guy's an expert as well. I ran a property management division for a long time and understand that inside and out. We're definitely here to help anybody who wants to look at building generational wealth through home ownership. There are a lot of pitfalls, right? There's a lot of things that you can do wrong, and we know how to help you step over those landmines so you don't get your legs blown off. We can help guide you, and ultimately, I'll say that, and this is the last thing I'll say about this, and this is probably going to fly in the face of some conventional wisdom, but a lot of people say, pay off your house, right? I honestly, I think especially if you have a 3% interest rate, but even if you have a 6% interest rate, let that money work for you. Oh, Lord. Take the money that you would have spent, because paying off your house feels good. It makes you feel this sense of freedom. It's wonderful. But that money's just sitting in the house. Yes, you can take it out, but if it's just sitting there, what good is it? It's not making any money for you. Take the money, invest it in another house, and let's help you guys build some generational wealth. And then let's parlay that into a couple more. There's an exciting platform and program for investing in home ownership and rentals that can put you, we can actually map this out for you and say, here's where you are, here's where you need to be in 2 years, here's where you need to be in 5 years, here's where you need to be in 10 years, and here's where you'll be in 20 years.
It's funny because Rivka and I were just talking about this because I've always had that mindset, pay the house off, right? Pay the house off, it's good cash flow coming in, and so this isn't being braggadocious, but our interest rate when we bought our house is 2.75%.
It's ridiculous.
So basically, they gave us
free money, man.
Basically free money, and that's
why would you pay that off?
That was her philosophy. She's like, why don't we focus on other things?
Yeah.
Right. So it's amazing that you brought that up and talked about it, because when she goes back and watches this, I think she will. When she goes back and watches this or listens to it, she's gonna be like, see, Marcus understands it.
Yeah.
Marcus gets it.
Rivka is a smart woman.
She
married you, so she has
No, that's because I'm a great salesman. So those of you looking to sell your house, I'm a great salesman.
He is that. Jack, this has been fun, man.
I enjoyed
it. Thank you so much for doing this.
So here's what we need to do. Yes. So those are the people that are out there when you hear the podcast, because we're going to put this on podcast.
312 Podcast. It's called 312 Podcast. It is in conjunction with 312 Coaching that Jack and I are going to be launching. Very exciting. We'll talk more about that in coming podcasts, but it's going to be some good stuff.
Absolutely. So if you see this on YouTube,
like and subscribe. And when I say smash that button. Yeah, buddy.
Smash that bell. But the other thing is, if you're listening to it on a podcast, the only way other people are going to hear this and see this is with likes and reviews.
Share the love, guys.
So just give us a review. If you don't like us.
If you like it. If not.
If you don't like us and you leave us a review, we can always get our crack team to go back and edit it. But even if you don't like us, 1 star, 3 stars, 4 stars, I like 5 stars. Give us a review. Let us know what you think. If there's things that we could do better, let us know. If there's things that you think were spot on, let us know.
Yeah, we're open. We're open.
Ask questions, because your question may end up a topic on one of these podcast video junkets.
Guys, we want this to be useful, right? We enjoy spending time together. We have fun, but we want this to be useful. So we want to know what you think, and we want to know that we're bringing value to you guys. So we want to make sure that we're hitting on topics that are important to you, ones you want to hear about. Things, if there's things that you like, let us know. If there are things you don't like, let us know.
And if you're thinking about getting into the real estate industry and maybe you haven't even taken your test yet, haven't even taken the classes yet, call one of us. Let's talk about your next steps.
Because real estate may not be the industry for you.
That's right. The beginning of your career, you got to make sure you make all the right decisions and all the right moves early, because
100%.
A bad move in the beginning can set you back. So, any event,
brilliant.
That's what I do. Hey, bye.